Hello everyone, my name is Ken Jobst and this is Taste and See. Welcome as we come to explore the intersection between faith and food. And today I'd like to talk about how to stop thinking about food all day long. Now, watch. We're in that time of year when people like to make resolutions. They like to set out at the beginning of the year or set out on a particular date to lose weight or to make some changes in their dietary habits. Well, I tell you what, the very first time that I ever set out to fast, I want to tell you what happened. So I prayed about the fast and I decided on such and such a day, I'm going to begin this fast. And so I did. And you know what happened? For 24 hours, all I could think about was food. I thought about food when I woke up. I thought about food when I went along with my day. I thought about food in the afternoon and into the evening. And I went to bed thinking about food. I thought fasting was a way to get me closer to Jesus. But it seemed like all it was doing was focusing all of my attention on food. And so today I'd like for us to think about thinking about food. We're going to think about thinking about food. And you know what? The Apostle Paul is going to help us out today. In Paul's letter to the Romans, Romans chapter 12, verse 2, here's what Paul says. You know this scripture. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So today, we're going to no longer conform to the pattern of the world, but we're going to be transformed as we renew our minds around food. So let's dive right in. How can we stop thinking about food all the time? And you know what? If it may be that you're not thinking about food all the time, but I know that there's a lot of folk out there that food thoughts kind of interrupt a lot of our other thoughts. And stay tuned, because you might find that there's some more things going on in your life than you thought about. So let's dive right in. In order to stop thinking about food all the time, the first thing that I want us all to do is to be sure that we're eating enough. Everybody needs to have somewhere between 2,000 and 2,200 calories a day just to be able to keep going, right? I'm not talking about big caloric expenditure athletes and that sort of thing, but I'm saying the common everyday walking around person, we're going to burn up 2,000 to 2,200 calories every day. So for some folk, we think about food because we're not eating enough food. So number one, be sure you're eating 2,000 to 2,200 calories every day. Secondly, in order to keep our minds off of food, eat a variety of foods every day. And watch this, avoid restricting foods for non-medical reasons. Now, for non-medical reasons, if your doctor has told you to cut out salt, certainly cut out the salt. But for, every now and then we'll see something on TV or we'll read something on Facebook about this new fad diet. And, they may work for a little while, but before too long, our minds kind of go back to food when we're on a restricted food diet. And I'm thinking now of those, the cabbage soup diet, where you eat all the cabbage soup that you want. Oh, mercy. Been there, done that, right? But ultimately, over the long term, if we restrict our own diets to just one or two foods, we're going to find that somehow or another, our mind keeps going back to food. So make sure you're eating enough. Check the labels. Check the internet to see how much a serving of meat is and how many calories is in it. And then eat that variety of foods, a nice variety, right? Now, I'm not saying, you can have oatmeal for breakfast. You can change it up every different way, but be sure to get a variety of foods. Now, number 3, coming to the point of the exercise here is to learn to recognize your triggers with respect to food. Get to the root of the issue. And for many of us who have struggled with weight gain or, struggled with eating, here's the thing. We need to transform our mind to understand why we're eating. Pastor Ken, we eat just to keep going. No, watch this. Watch. I'd like for us to really understand the difference between hunger and craving, right? Hunger is, I need to eat. Craving is, I want to eat. So when I'm hungry, I want a meal. I need to have a balanced meal. When I'm craving, I just want a pint of ice cream and a spoon and leave me alone. When I'm craving, I want my crave case and just march my way through a big stack of sliders, right? That's craving. There's a big difference between hunger and craving. The need to eat and when we want to eat. Now, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of reasons why we get those confused. There's many reasons why we get hunger confused with craving, and why we get hunger confused with a variety of other types of emotions that are going on with us. Sometimes it's difficult to tell because we get in the habit of skipping meals. Maybe you get up late and so you skip breakfast. And then along about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you start feeling something, right? That's hunger. But what do you have available to you at 10:30 or, oh mercy, somebody brought donuts to the office. So my hunger that's asking me for a well-rounded, balanced diet meal is going to be addressed by a craving for donuts. Oh, mercy, right? So we get into the situation maybe because we skip a meal. We skip breakfast or we skip lunch. We get into the situation, secondly, because a lot of times we're not even eating a balanced diet to begin with. Perhaps, it's potato chips, bag of chips, whatever is in the machine at noon, that's what we have. Whatever I have change for in the vending machine. Or, as I said, sometimes we restrict our diets for reasons that are not necessarily nutritionally based. We restrict our diets to what's convenient, to what's quick, to what's easy for us, instead of what our body is asking for. So, watch this. Beware of eating when you're bored. Sometimes we can sit down in front of the TV and, oh my goodness, there just happens to be a bag of chips. Oh my goodness, look at these nachos over here. And before we know it, we've marched all the way through that snack food, but we really weren't hungry to begin with. We were just bored and looking for something to do with our hands. So it's convenient to say, okay, hand, dive into that potato chip bag, all right? And then that gives me something to do so it feels like I'm busy and it feels like I'm doing something, when for real, I'm not hungry, I'm bored. Oh, mercy. And then here's another thing we need to pay attention to. If there's anything you take away from today, let it be this. Pay attention when you eat. Just pay attention to eating. Now, I say that, I had a good friend who actually served a tour of duty in Vietnam. And he was like 19 years old at the time, and his mother was one of the best cookie bakers on planet Earth. And so everybody kind of got used to the idea that she would send a care package full of cookies, and then when it was received there in Vietnam, he would open up the package and everybody from the whole company would come around and he would share the cookies. They would tell stories. It would turn into a big party, and there was so much excitement when there was nothing left but the crumbs. He didn't even remember what the cookies tasted like. He looked forward to it for so long, but in the moment got so busy and so carried away that his attention was taken away from his taste buds, and it was put on the excitement of the party, the joy of sharing, all those things. He missed the taste of the cookies. You know, years ago, now I'm dating myself right here. Years ago, there was something called TV dinners, right? You remember TV dinners? TV dinners were little frozen boxes, and they would come, they'd have a little entree in the middle, maybe a little vegetable over here, maybe a little dessert over there. But watch this, they were frozen. They were absolutely frozen solid. You could drive a nail with them. No, we didn't have microwaves back in the day. You had to turn the oven on to 400 degrees, put that thing in the oven for a half hour, then it would come out. And watch, they had TV trays. You could put your TV dinner on so you could watch TV uninterrupted while you ate your TV dinner. Now, okay, my favorite TV dinner was Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes and gravy, and peas and carrots. And I could sit in front of the TV and eat like this. I could stare at Dragnet or whatever was on TV, you know, Lone Ranger, whatever it was going to be. I could just sit there and eat mindlessly. And then when the TV show was over, like I'd look down and the food was over at the same time the TV show was over. What did it taste like? I couldn't even tell you. But watch this. Maybe that was by design, because these TV dinners that had a little thin slice of turkey and a little dab of dressing, you know what? They weren't sold for the flavor. They were sold for the convenience. So what I'm saying is, pay attention while you're eating. You've heard of empty calories, those calories that bring us no nutrition value, but simply add up on the calorie count. Let's stay away from that. Let's pay attention and focus on what we're eating. Hey, now look, I've fallen into this trap before as well. That it's late, you're hungry. Look at that, there's no line at the drive-thru, so you just pull into the drive-thru and watch. I pull into the drive-thru, I order something that's already prepackaged for me. It's ready to go. And then I eat in the car on the way home. Now, come on. I'm paying attention to my driving. I'm paying attention to the crosswalks. I'm paying attention to the lights and everything. I don't even taste the burger. I couldn't tell you if the fries are hot or cold, right? Watch. If you want to genuinely stop thinking about eating all day long, eat memorable meals, right? Eat a meal that's going to satisfy you. Eat a meal that you're going to be able to say, you know what, that was really good, instead of saying, I wonder what's going to come next. Because when you say that was really good, it's like you're bringing closure to that meal. Now, sometimes on vacation, what happens is I'll get up, I'll eat breakfast, and then I'm just going to plan what I'm going to eat for the rest of the day. So I live from meal to meal to meal. You don't need to do that when you eat a memorable meal. So what are we talking about? A memorable meal? Well, right here. My old buddy, my apple, right here, right? Now, wait a minute. Don't just call him, he's not just an apple. He's a Honeycrisp apple. He is genetically the most significant apple to come along in a long time. He's got a great sweetness. He's got a crispness. He's juicy, and he's waiting for me for lunch today. So that's going to be an awesome, memorable meal. Cheese, right? Cheese can be one of those things that helps us to have a memorable meal. Instead of having a bland American cheese slice, try having a sharp cheddar slice on your sandwich. It's going to give your taste buds something to do, something to think about. And when we have a memorable meal, it takes away our proclivity to be thinking about food all the time. Because why? Because it gives us a sense of satisfaction and a sense of closure that that meal is finished. It was good to have had that meal, and now I'm ready to go on with the other business of the day. So eat tasty food and pay attention while we're eating it. Now, just a couple more things, and then I'll let you go. There comes a time in many of our lives, and especially if you struggle with weight gain, that sort of thing, we need to be able to break this cycle of what the voice in our head is saying. And sometimes it's a shame thing, sometimes it's a guilt thing. You know the difference. Guilt is interior. Shame kind of is concerned with what other people are going to think. Break that cycle. Tell yourself, I'm all right. This is okay. I'm eating food that I like and remember and that is nourishing my body. And finally, the final takeaway in terms of how to stop thinking about food all day long. If you find that after a good long while of trying some different things, rearranging your day, rearranging your meals, rearranging your menu, if you're still having trouble breaking out of the thinking about food all day, don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk to a nutritionist. Talk to somebody who can help you understand where that food, those food thoughts are coming from. But coming back to the Apostle Paul, don't conform to the pattern of the world. Don't conform to the pattern of it's all about the salt and the fat and the sugar, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So let's have a renewed mind about food. And the gracious God who created so many different flavors, so many different textures, so many different ways of giving us the nutrition that keeps us going from day to day. With Taste and See, this is Ken Jobst from St. Stephen Church in Louisville, Kentucky. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.